Comrades, family and friends, I'd like to welcome you to a special Republican Socialist Movement Easter broadcast. I would like to take this opportunity just on behalf of the Republican Socialist Movement in sending our support, solidarity and thanks to all those workers that have ensured our vital services continue. In particular, all those on the front line of our healthcare services and care homes as they continue their fight against the coronavirus. Comrades, before we move on to the main oration, I'm going over to the Milltown Cemetery where the last post will be headed by, and we'll observe a minute's silence for all those that gave their lives in the national liberation struggle and for socialism in Ireland. Comrades, this is an Easter the likes of which none of us have seen before. At a time of year when the revolutionary songs of our past fill the air and our streets are full with all manners of Republicans, proudly remembering all those that made the ultimate sacrifice in the cause of Irish freedom. It's not the case this year. Our streets will be largely silent and completely devoid of the throngs of proud Republicans that usually gather. Because this doesn't matter. Whether it's from the gravesides of our patriot dead, from our homes or even from prison cells, the Republican Socialist Movement has always and will always remember with the most immense pride all those that gave their all in the national liberation struggle. In particular, all those members of this movement who fell in the struggle for a 32-county socialist republic. This year it was the intention of the Republican Socialist Movement to pay a special tribute to our fallen comrades whose milestone anniversaries fell this year. We'd just like to ask all our members and supporters to take a second out of their Easter Sundays and give a thought to our martyrs and their families. Volunteer Hugh Ferguson, Donny Loughlin, Brenton McNamee, Ronnie Traynor, whose 45th anniversaries fall this year. Volunteers Miriam Daly, Ronnie Bunting and Noel Little, whose 40th anniversaries are this year. And volunteer Alex Patterson, whose 30th anniversary has just passed us. Comrades, it's no exaggeration to say that we owe these people our lives. In fact, we in the Republican Socialist Movement owe them so much more. From its inception in 1974 to this present day, our enemies have used and continue to use all the means at their disposal to destroy this movement. They have tried to intimidate us, they harass us at every opportunity, they jail us and they have murdered us. Yet here we stand, 45 years on from the founding of this movement. We're still here, and more than that, we're growing in terms of members and confidence. The current vitality of this movement, the confidence of its members, and in particular our highly energised and growing youth movement, and most importantly, its spirit of resistance, that is, a refusal to bow to any order that would see our people as a subject class, didn't come about by chance. It was moulded by the revolutionary theories espoused by Connolly, Costello and Power, and it was resolutely defended by all our comrades that went before us. Which, reflecting on the lessons of our forebears, it's imperative that we remember that their struggle, that's our struggle, is far from finished. Nowhere is that struggle more evident than in Ireland today. In the midst of this global pandemic, we have watched all those so-called wealth creators disappear into their multi-million pound fortresses, whilst their workers are left without jobs or wages. We look on whilst these parasites ruthlessly exploit this crisis to line their pockets while the rest of us face losing everything. Most disgustingly, we watch on as those companies that can still operate actively put their workers' lives at risk by not providing the appropriate protective equipment to carry out their jobs. This is done solely to keep a flow of capital for these human leeches to feed on. It's here, comrades, that the most blatant contradiction of the capitalist system is laid bare. An economic system that prioritises capital over human life, which actively kills off or endangers those on who it relies, is not sustainable in normal times, let alone during a crisis like this. Here in Ireland, this crisis has been exacerbated by partition. Both jurisdictions on this island failed to work in sync when putting in place measures to deal with this crisis, and both went in the complete opposite directions. Ireland was, in effect, used as some kind of experiment in testing which strategy would be more effective. And as we're seeing, and will continue seeing in the coming weeks, it's the Irish working class that will pay the price of this. In the occupied 6 counties, we have an executive who has allowed this response to be, the response to this pandemic, to be politicised within the sectarian confines of this state. Our lives took second precedent to that. Comrades, while it's important to keep in mind the gravity of the current crisis, it's just as important that we highlight the positive stories happening in the midst of this. When this all kicked off and the capitalist class disappeared with all the money that was a result of our hard work, leaving many in our communities without an income, the Irish working class came together, as they always do. Across the country, working class communities come to the fore looking after our most vulnerable. The Republican Socialist movement commends all those community and political activists that have supported this community response. We're especially proud of our own members who have been at the forefront of community support efforts. Comrades, while we may not be able to remember our fallen comrades in a usual way, I can tell you this with confidence, that their sacrifice and their commitment to this movement and to this country has been a guiding light for all of us during these uncertain times. And it's here at Carter that we will pay tribute to them through our actions supporting those who they gave their lives for. Comrades, if there was ever a time to take action against the failed social system, it will soon be upon us. Global capitalism is facing a crisis unseen since the Depression era. We will not and we cannot allow a repeat of 2008, when the capitalist class used their political puppets to gain bailouts while the rest of us suffered over a decade of austerity. No more than a few weeks ago, our healthcare workers were standing on picket lines fighting for a basic living wage. Those that fought tooth and nail against them now have the audacity to stand at their doors and clap them off to work, the jobs that they aren't even properly equipped to carry out. Well, comrades, I can tell you where the IRSP were. We were on the front line standing with the pickets. We were on the front line of the pickets with the health workers. At this moment, our activists are working round the clock, securing, assembling and distributing vital PPE equipment to our frontline staff. And when this is over, we'll stand beside them as well. Given the hindrance caused by both partition and capitalism during this crisis, the IRSP again reiterates its call for the immediate establishment of an All-Ireland National Health Service. Comrades, we're about to go through a period of rapid political development, and whilst many of us yearn for some semblance of normality, we can never return to normal. In the aftermath of this crisis, grassroots-led unity campaigns will be more important than ever. The IRSP would urge all Republicans and Socialists to get behind the ongoing Yes Unity campaign. The purpose of this broad front initiative is to put the maximum amount of pressure on both failed governments on this island and to bring an end to partition. In this, we aim to inject the socialist message into the mainstream debate on Irish unity and bring control of that debate back into the hands of the Irish working class. Comrades, in these uncertain times, we urge you all to just look after yourselves, look after your families and your community by following the advice of the medical experts. Use this time to prepare yourselves for the struggle ahead. As we enter this new phase of the workers' struggle, the Republican Socialist movement will proudly stand where we have always stood. We owe our allegiance to the working class. Gar míle maith agah.